Courage to be happy also includes the courage to be disliked. When you've gained that courage, your interpersonal relationships will all at once change into things of likeness. Hey friends, my name's Dibblin, and in this video I'm going to be breaking down the top 3 lessons from one of my favourite books I've read this year, and that's The Courage to be Disliked. Let's talk about how the teachings of a psychologist 120 years ago can help us to live more fulfilling lives in the 21st century. Before we jump in, I have a small caveat. This book follows the teachings of a man called Alfred Adler, who was an Austrian doctor and psychologist. The authors of this book follow Adlerian psychology, the teachings of Adler, to the letter. They follow them as being absolute. I personally am definitely much more of a pick and mixer when it comes to the different schools of psychology and philosophy that you can choose to believe or not believe. I think the best thing that you can do is you can study as many different schools as you can and pick and choose what works for you. There are so many amazing takeaways from this book, and I would really advise anyone watching this video to read the book. I'll drop a link below. Alternatively, if you'd like to read this book for free, the same way that I did, you can sign up for a free trial of Audible and you get a free credit and you can choose this book. I'm going to talk about my favourite 3 lessons from this book. Lesson number 1, your past does not determine your future. The key takeaway from this lesson is that you can change, and all that you need for change is a desire for change and action. Adler's first and probably core teaching, core principle of Adlerian psychology is that the past doesn't matter. Adler goes so far as to say that trauma doesn't exist. I don't agree with that. I think trauma is very clearly something that does exist in people's lives, and so I think that's a very big oversimplification, but I do think there are some teachings that all of us can take forward from it. The Courage to be Disliked argues that even if all of your current flaws and personality issues and all of your problems are because of your past, then so what? Any actions that anyone could ever take can only happen in the present, and so the past doesn't matter and the future doesn't matter. It's just what you do here and now. In order to break old patterns, then the first thing you have to do is to believe that change is possible. Lesson number 2 is I think very powerful in this book, and that is the idea that hating yourself or focusing on one's flaws is normally a way of distracting from real problems rather than being truly warranted. Key takeaway from this lesson is that many people have worries, doubts and fears about what they could be doing if only they were somewhere else. Oftentimes, the reasons that we tell ourselves about why we're not happy are entirely fabricated. The real reason, Adler argues, is that change is really bloody scary, and so it's much easier to not change. Many of us, myself definitely included in this, fixate on our flaws or what we're lacking and blame this lack for where we are in our lives. I'm not funny, I'm not pretty, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money. Adler categorizes all of these worries and flaws into 2 camps, the objective and the subjective. The objective is things that could be measured and things that are objectively true. I don't have very much money, could be objectively true. I'm not very tall, could be objectively true. Subjective flaws are ones that aren't real, they're ones that people have made up. I'm not very attractive. Well, you can't measure that. I'm not very funny. Well, again, that's not really something that can be measured in the right way. These fabricated subjective flaws are normally created to explain away something deeper. I'm not very funny is there because we're thinking, oh, if only I was more funny, I might have more friends. I'm not very attractive becomes, if I was more attractive, I'd already be married. I don't have enough time becomes, if I had more time, I would be doing everything I said I could do. I don't have very much money becomes, oh, if I had more money, I'd quit my job and I'd travel the world. What this book tells us to do is it tells us to focus on those flaws that are objective and measurable, because those are the ones that can be changed. The subjective flaws, the ones that we've made up about ourselves, we can never do anything about because they're false. Before you deem yourself unworthy because of a subjective flaw that you're feeling about yourself, make sure to probe deeper and see if that flaw is really just an argument to explain away something deeper. Lesson number 3, and I think my biggest takeaway from this book, is that a competitive mental attitude destroys your mental health. Key takeaway from this lesson is that once you let go of that competitive, narrow mindset and embrace an idea of abundance and that all can be successful, you'll be much happier in your life. You'll realize that the only thing that was holding you back was your own opinion of yourself, often compared to others. As long as you focus on yourself and you treat other people as your teammates and your equals, then you can achieve anything. I think everyone knows that a supportive community is a really important factor in a healthy, happy life. When we think community, most people's thoughts will go straight to maybe their household, their family, their friends, maybe even their wider social community, maybe a place of worship or where they work. Adler argues that community should include every single person on earth, and even so far as every single person on earth who ever has lived and ever will live. Each and every person you ever meet can be thought of in 2 ways, either your comrade or your competitor. A comrade is someone who wishes you no harm and someone who benefits when you succeed and whose success benefits you. This is in contrast to a competitor who needs to succeed at the cost of your success. The problem is that if you believe that in order to be happy, in order to succeed, you need to be coming out on top of everyone else, then everyone loses. People who don't win, people who aren't the top 1% feel like failures, and people who are the top 1% are constantly worried about staying there. Once you let go of this narrow competitive mindset that there isn't enough to go around, you'll find yourself feeling much happier. After all, there is enough to go around for everyone, and that includes success. There is enough success that everyone can be successful. That is just 3 of the key takeaways that I have from this book. I really, really loved it. I'm already looking forward to my second read through. I've been listening to it on audiobook when I run, and I just really love consuming content in that way. Some other key lessons that I think are worth mentioning from the book, but are ones that you should probably explore yourself when you've read the book. Adler talks about this idea that all of us have a style in our lives, and it's, I think, what other schools of psychology might call your personality. Adler calls it a style because style can be changed, whereas personality is kind of a fixed idea. If you want to change your style, you can change it, and it's as simple as going out and buying new clothes. But the psychological version of that. Another key takeaway that I got from this book was how to avoid falling into that competitive trap. How do you build meaningful relationships without frustration? Different tasks being different people's domains, and for one person to focus on someone else's task is unfair of them. Why and how you should be treating everyone else like a friend. Like I said, check out the link in the description below if you want to grab a copy of this book. It's really fantastic. I advise you read it yourself. Have a great day. My name is Dibblin. Please like and subscribe.